we have more updates in the ongoing WNBA-CBA negotiations, and there is a brand new wrinkle to the storyline as it's been reported that there is a Saudi-backed basketball league that will be kicking off next season, and this could truly change everything.
The WNBA is on the brink of collapse, and what just surfaced 2 minutes ago confirms everyone's worst nightmare. Multiple reports are now flooding in that several top stars have made their decision, and it's not the one Cathy Engelbert wanted to hear. Project B, the Saudi-backed super league that nobody thought would actually pull this off, just changed the game forever.
Basketball venture was founded by former Google and Facebook executive Grady Burnett and his friend Jeff Prentice, co-founder of Skype. It's set to begin with the Women's Basketball League in large part because of the immense growth and interest in the sport. It will feature 6 teams of 11 players, each that play 7 two-week tournaments in cities across Asia, Europe, and the Americas, and it's already 2 years in the making.
Talking about a seismic shift that could leave the WNBA as nothing more than a shell of what it once was. The contracts being thrown around, absolutely insane. The names being whispered behind closed doors, even more shocking. And the fallout from all of this? It's already started. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear will blow your mind. Let's rewind for a second. Just weeks ago, rumors started.
The thing with these Saudi-backed leagues is they just have the money. They have the money, and it doesn't seem like they're so worried about the outcome or the viewership or kind of the return in investment that they get. It seems like they just want to be a part of these major sports, and they're willing to throw crazy bags at these top players who they clearly have a lot of value.
Swirling about this mysterious league called Project B. At first, everyone brushed it off. Another alternative league trying to make noise? Please. We've seen this story before, and it always ends the same way, with a press release, some hype, and then radio silence. But here's the thing. Project B wasn't just talk. It was real. Fully funded. Backed by Saudi billions. And it was coming for the WNBA's biggest stars with offers so ridiculous that even the most loyal...
Now, former WNBA star Elena Beard will also serve as the chief basketball officer. And among the growing list of investors and advisors are some big names like Candace Parker, Steve Young, Novak Djokovic, and Sloane Stephens. The new league will be headquartered in Singapore.
Players couldn't help but listen. We're talking $50 million, $100 million. Numbers that make a WNBA salary look like pocket change. And now, the league that fought so hard to build something meaningful is watching it all slip away. So, who's behind this takeover? 2 names you need to know, Grady Burnett and Jeff Apprentice. Burnett, a former Google and Facebook executive, teamed up with Apprentice, the co-founder of Skype, to create something the basketball world has never seen before.
Numbers that have kind of been thrown around on what kind of contracts they could offer some of these players. And 50 million was one of the numbers that they could reportedly throw at a player like Caitlin Clark. Project B will employ 66 players, and if they increase salaries 10 times, which would be extremely low given the Saudi fund, how will players who make $150,000 in the WNBA turn?
Isn't some fly-by-night operation. These guys have been working on this for 2 years. 2 years of planning, recruiting, and securing funding that would make even the NBA nervous. And they didn't just throw money at the problem. They brought in people who understand the game. Former WNBA All-Star Elena Beard signed on as Chief Basketball Officer. Then came the big names. Candace Parker, Steve Young, Novak Djokovic, Sloane Stephens. Suddenly, Project B had credibility, legitimacy, and most importantly, the financial firepower to make this thing real. The structure they built is insane. 6 teams, 11 players each, 7 to...
Like Angel, like Paige, like Asia. Could you imagine what would happen to the WNBA if they get some of the WNBA's biggest stars?
Tournaments spread across Asia, Europe, and the Americas. It's not just basketball. It's a global spectacle designed to give women's basketball the kind of treatment usually reserved for international soccer tournaments. Luxury accommodations, 5-star travel, production quality that rivals anything the WNBA has ever done. And the kicker? Players don't have to grind through a 6-month season just to make ends meet. They can make generational wealth in a few months, then go live their lives. It's everything players have been asking for, wrapped up in a package the WNBA can't possibly match. Now,
is there an amount of money that is just too big to pass up? Is it something where Caitlin Clark takes that massive paycheck, she skips the WNBA season for a year, and then you kind of see what her true value is in the WNBA?
Here's where it gets wild. The contracts. When word first leaked about what Project B was offering, people thought it had to be a typo. $50 million for Caitlin Clark? $100 million for the right superstar? Come on. But then agents started making calls. And those calls got returned. And suddenly, everyone realized this wasn't a joke. Saudi investors had allocated hundreds of millions in guaranteed funding, and they were ready to spend every penny to make this work. For context, Caitlin Clark makes less than $100,000 in base salary with the WNBA. Breanna Stewart and Aya Wilson, two of the league's biggest stars, top out around $250,000 to $300,000 before endorsements. Now imagine someone walking up to you and offering 50 times that amount. What are you supposed to do? Turn it down because of loyalty? Because of legacy? That's a tough sell when you've spent years flying commercial and sleeping in budget hotels while male athletes in other leagues live like royalty. Inside the WNBA offices, panic set in fast. Cathy Engelbert, the commissioner already catching heat for the way CBA negotiations were going, suddenly had a whole new crisis on her hands. And this one, she couldn't fix it with press releases or partnerships. This was an existential threat. If Project B managed to lure away even 2 or 3 of the league's biggest stars, it would trigger a domino effect that could destroy everything. Sponsors would follow the talent overseas, media coverage would shift, and the WNBA's entire value proposition, the idea that it's the premier destination for women's basketball, would evaporate overnight. Emergency calls were made, board meetings were held, and behind closed doors, people started asking the question nobody wanted to say out loud. Can the WNBA actually survive this? Adam Silver knew the stakes better than anyone. The NBA commissioner has spent years quietly supporting the WNBA, pouring in funding and resources to keep it afloat during tough financial times. But Project B changed the equation entirely. This wasn't just about the WNBA anymore. This was about the NBA's reputation and its control over basketball as a global product. If Saudi money could pull the biggest stars out of the WNBA, what's stopping them from making a run at NBA players next? Silver had seen this playbook before. LIV Golf did it to the PGA. Saudi-backed soccer leagues did it to European football. And in both cases, the traditional leagues were forced to bend the knee. So Silver stepped in, attending strategy sessions, talking directly to players, trying to figure out how to stop the bleeding before it started. But here's the problem. The WNBA doesn't have the financial firepower to compete. The league isn't profitable yet. It's still building. And while Silver can offer creative solutions like profit-sharing models and cross-promotional deals with the NBA, those take time. Time the WNBA doesn't have. Project B is moving fast. Scouts are already contacting agents. Teams are being formed. Logistics are being finalized. By the time the WNBA figures out a response, it might already be too late. And then there's the player perspective, which makes this whole thing even more complicated. For years, WNBA players have been vocal about the pay gap. They've fought for better salaries, better travel, better facilities. And every time, they've been told the same thing. The money isn't there yet. Be patient. Build the brand. Wait for the revenue to catch up. But now, Project B is offering them everything they've been asking for, and they don't have to wait. One anonymous player said it best. If a league values me at $50 million, how am I supposed to turn that down? This isn't greed. It's opportunity. That sentiment is spreading fast, especially among veterans who spent their prime years chasing equal pay while watching male athletes in other sports make life-changing money. Even the league's biggest stars are caught in the middle. Caitlin Clark, the most-watched rookie in WNBA history, has always projected loyalty and professionalism. But people close to her are reportedly urging her to keep her options open. Angel Reese, who's never been shy about speaking up, has publicly questioned why women's basketball should have to beg for what other leagues just hand out. And if either one of them decides to jump ship, the wave that follows could wash away everything the WNBA has built. No Clark, no Reese, no Aya Wilson, no storylines, no rivalries, no soul. Just an empty league trying to convince fans it still matters. Not everyone is on board with the idea, though. Players like Kelsey Plum and Sabrina Ionescu have voiced concerns about Saudi Arabia's track record on women's rights. One player posted on social media, "The money sounds great, but who are we really playing for?" It's a valid question, and it's sparked a fierce debate within the basketball community. Some argue that taking Saudi money and proving women's value on a global stage is progress. Others warn that selling out to foreign investors means losing control of the sport soul. And for Cathy Engelbert and Adam Silver, that ethical tension makes their job even harder. They can't publicly attack Project B without looking anti-progress, but staying silent looks like surrender. So what's the WNBA's plan? Well, they're scrambling. Talks to finalize a new collective bargaining agreement have been accelerated. Proposals for increased salary caps, higher bonuses, and expanded revenue sharing models are on the table. But even the most generous projections don't come close to what Project B is offering. The league also floated something called the Global Partnership Pathway, a program that would let players participate in off-season tournaments abroad while staying under WNBA contracts. The idea is to mimic Project B's appeal without losing players entirely. But here's the thing. Players can tell the difference between a real opportunity and a desperate imitation. And without the funding to back it up, the WNBA's plan feels like too little, too late. Meanwhile, franchise owners are panicking. Ticket sales depend on star players. Sponsorships are tied to media visibility. If even one or two headliners disappear to Project B, the financial impact could be catastrophic. Teams could lose millions in local revenue. National TV deals could evaporate. Some owners are pushing for drastic measures, including temporary subsidies from the NBA to stabilize salaries and keep stars from leaving. But that would mean admitting what everyone already suspects. The WNBA can't sustain itself without outside help. And that's the harshest truth of all. By the time Project B officially announced its inaugural season, the balance of power in women's basketball had already shifted. The unveiling was nothing short of cinematic. Held in Singapore, broadcast across multiple continents, with slick visuals promising a new era for the sport. The message was clear. The WNBA's monopoly on women's basketball is over. Saudi investors aren't just launching a league. They're declaring war on the existing order. And while Cathy Engelbert issued a carefully worded statement congratulating any league that expands opportunities for women in sports, privately, the tone was far less optimistic. Emergency strategy meetings were held. Legal experts were brought in. Media executives were consulted. Ownership groups started preparing for what insiders are calling the Great Migration. And here's the kicker. Some players have already made their decision. Reports suggest that several high-profile stars have agreed in principle to join Project B once the WNBA off-season begins. The names haven't all gone public yet, but the whispers are getting louder. And if those names are who we think they are, the WNBA is in serious trouble. Because once the floodgates open, there's no closing them. Players will see their peers making generational wealth, living like superstars and getting the respect they've always deserved. And they'll ask themselves, why am I still here? The WNBA stands at a crossroads unlike any in its 28-year history. What began as quiet negotiations has exploded into a global power struggle for the soul of women's basketball. Project B's arrival has exposed deep cracks in the league's foundation. Underpaid athletes, strained leadership, a system unprepared for real competition. Cathy Engelbert and Adam Silver are facing the ultimate test. Can they protect what they built? Or will the lure of limitless Saudi money rewrite everything? The truth is, this isn't just about contracts or teams. It's about control, respect, and the value of women's sports in a world that finally realizes how profitable it can be. Whether the WNBA survives or transforms, one thing is absolutely certain. Women's basketball will never go back to the old way of doing business. The players have tasted their worth. The Saudis have made their move. And the league that once fought for equality is now fighting for survival. The future has already arrived, and it carries a Saudi seal.